Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I apologise if the lighting is a little bit rubbish. I normally just kind of have the natural lighting, but it's decided it's going to be typical England and everything is dull and raining and disgusting. So I have the room lights on, which I don't know, rubbish lighting, and yeah. But anyway, welcome to my update. So this is my update for my leveling up my author career. I have two goals this year. One is to level up my author career, increase my income, and the other one is to monetize my channel. For both of those, I am documenting my journey, my plans, my changes, all that stuff. And so this is the one about increasing my income. This, and last week I think I talked about it, but if I didn't, I'll just give you a bit of a recap. So I was calling it week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. And sometimes I might just miss a week because of life, illness, whatever. And I know me, and if I was to miss a week and it's called week 1, week 2, week 3, I would get into this position of, one, do I just record the next one and call it week 3, week 4, even if there's a gap, or do I call it week, go week 1, week 2, week 3, I miss week 4 and then just jump to week 5, and then I'm thinking if people are watching, they're going to look for the missing week and it doesn't make sense. So what I thought I would do was change the name of it to being an episode, so that anyone watching this in the future can just click the episode numbers, but there might be, episode whatever might cover 2 to 3 weeks and some episodes might just cover a week. It's just covering myself for my brain that I could still create these in a linear way. And this is just how we develop and change. That's what this is all about. So this is my 4th update. It is episode 4. And last week, I set out the goal of writing 7,000 words in a week, working on the outline of my next book, trying to think, working on my newsletter and finishing the newsletter ninja book that I'm reading by Tammy Labrecque. I think that's her surname. I apologise. None of that happened, and it's really crazy. I set myself up a lot to fail. Mind you, I don't really want to call it failing. Mostly I have higher expectations of myself than I can keep doing. I think I always kind of expect the best performance out of myself all the time. So I've always been a writer. When I was a child, I wrote all the time. For as long as I can remember, I have been a writer, and not including my child and teenage years. In my 20s, I used to write for a gaming website. It was by EA Games. It was a lot of fun. I got invited to their headquarters to preview the new games so that I could create stories around these games ready for when the game released. It was so much fun. I had my own website. My stories were featured on the official site, and I just wrote stories all the time. It was kind of like the way we have Vella and stuff. I wrote it in an episodic way, so every week or a few days there would be a new episode of the story. Readers would read it, they'd comment and interact with me, and it was just a really fun time. And I didn't earn any money from doing this. It was pure hobby, and there was plenty of perks, don't get me wrong. I got free games, review copies of other games from other companies. I got to go to the gaming headquarters, I got to meet the developers of certain games and stuff like that. So there was a lot of fun perks, and it wasn't ever about the money. It was solely about the writing. I made some really great friends. I got to travel to other countries and stuff like that. But what I used to do is I would write a story, and these stories probably came in at around 30 to 40,000 words when they were done. And so I would finish a story, and then 2 to 3 days later I would be on to the next one. Sometimes it would even be the next day I would be on to the next one, because it was just like a write repeat process. Absolutely brilliant. But there was no pressure of anything, and I think because I wasn't earning any actual money, it was pure hobby and fun. There was no pressure on me like there is now in the indie world. When we're writing a book, we're constantly thinking, is this going to sell? Are readers going to buy it? Am I going to make enough money? Especially when you are a working writer and writing is your full-time income. Back then there was none of that pressure, and what that meant is I didn't have to care about marketing. There was no such thing as Facebook ads because Facebook didn't exist. I wasn't bothered about social media. I was on the official forum. As soon as I put something up, boom, it was being read. And so it was literally, I was 100% in creative mode all the time. If I wasn't writing, back then I was also at night school, trying to earn some qualifications to actually further the career that I was in. And I would constantly be thinking about my story. I'd be so excited to sit down. And I think it's just because all the pressure was gone. So when I finished a book, this is my point I'm trying to tell you. When I finished a book or a story, I would just jump straight onto the next one and boom. And I had such a wild time. And then in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, I wrote my first actual novel, which was not for this site, but it was a novel. It was about 100,000 words. It was my favourite thing. Again, I was addicted to the writing. And when I finished that story, I was so pumped up with these characters that I went on to the next story, and then I went on to the next story. And I was living in this just constant creating. You know, it would be in my head. I would take my notebooks to work with me and be writing on the side, kind of thing. And now it's completely different. So I'm still writing all the time and the pressures are different, and I think that's what it is, and my life is different. And it's really weird as well, because back then when I was writing, when everything seemed so much easier, I had children at home, and now the children are grown up, so I don't know. But what I have noticed the last few times I have finished books is that I am a couple of weeks between books before I can start writing the next book. Yeah, so recently I have been, when I've written a book, I have tried to jump straight into writing the next one, and I find that I am falling into this pattern of I don't write. When I sit down, I'm not writing, and it's kind of like a 2-week break period before I jump into the next story, which is frustrating, but I think that's just how I'm working at the moment. And I think I'm basing my now on my past version of me, who was jumping from next story to next story to next story. But what I'm forgetting is those past versions of myself. When I was writing my novels, even in the early 2000s, there was no KDP, there was no readers, there was no money, there was no income. It was literally just writing my books. And also when I was writing for the gaming site, there was no pressure about making a living. And I think it was a lot easier. Now, when I finish a book, it goes off to an editor, I get it back, I've got to do the edits, I've got to get the cover, I've got to start launch strategy, I've got to think about newsletter emails, I've got to think about Facebook ads, all this other stuff goes into it. And I'm also then thinking about what is the next book I'm going to write, because I have various series. I actually have readers who have expectations of my books. So I think that because of all the stuff that goes into being an indie author, which is fantastic and fun, I'm finding it a bit difficult on those in-between moments writing my books. It could just be a stage of my life. I'm older, which means I'm a little bit more tired. I don't have as much energy as I used to. I have so many other things going on as well. So last week I could sit and I could now beat myself up that I didn't really do any writing. I didn't read the new Ninja newsletter book. I didn't sort my email list account out. I didn't do any of the stuff that I wanted to do. Or I could just say, kind of had a week off after finishing a book, which is kind of true. I actually got my edits back a couple of days ago, and so I have been reading those. I also have, I've mentioned this, I took on some freelance work. So this week I've been really working on the freelance work just because I'd finished a book and it just felt like that's where my brain needed to be. And I'm really enjoying the freelance work. It's still within the indie publishing world. I can't really talk much about what it is because I've signed contracts and stuff like that. But it's still within the same realm of what I'm doing, and it's fantastic and a lot of fun, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it and the interaction with the people I am working with. So it's not that I've not been doing stuff. I'm not just taking a week off and sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix. I have been playing with story outlines as well for my next book. I have not a solid outline for my next DCI Rogan book, but I've got a really good plan of what I want this book to go. So the next DCI Rogan book is going to be called Find Me, and it is about this 7-year-old little girl who is abducted, and he's got to find her, obviously. And then a few days later, a second little girl of the same age is also abducted with the whole same circumstances. And I'm not going to go too much in it because it's spoilers, but there's like a connection-y twist between these these 2 cases and girls, which he will have to eventually find, which I'm enjoying. And I had a really good time plotting that. It wasn't plotting and outlining it, it was brainstorming it. That's probably the best idea. I literally spent a full day brainstorming that idea. By the time I got to the end of the day, I was like really pumped, so excited for this story. I've also been working on some admin tasks behind. I've got orders to send out on I have 2 pen names. So on my other pen name, I've got some orders to send out and some things I need to do there. So I have been doing that. So it's not that I've not been working, but I've probably been more onto the admin side of things. And I'm still trying to decide which book to write. I have my Rogan book plotted out, but I also need to go and write this other book that people have been waiting for. And then another decision I have, or it's not even a decision, the book I advertise, the advertising is going really well. And because the advertising has been going really well, and it's a series, so there are a few books out, and if I go into my KDP account, the top 3 books is book 1 that I'm advertising, and then the read through of the rest of the series, which is amazing. And then I'm getting messages on the adverts now with, when is the next book out? When is the next book out? When are you writing book 6? I'm really waiting for the next book. And I'm like, should I jump on this because it's going so well? Because my book is constantly floating around the 10,000 in the Amazon chart, which sounds like maybe it's not good, but it is good because I'm getting good sales. Sometimes it drops down to it's getting to really good places in the charts as well. It's within the top 100 of its genre. I'm getting sales every day. So I'm like, should I jump on this and write the next book of that? And this is what I was talking about. You've got so much to think about, so I'm not sure. Well, there's just a lot of things going on. So this week, to be honest, my only goal is to work on my edits and get that file up, because the pre-order is going live soon and I need to get the file up and then I can get it up to ARC readers and stuff like that. So actually my only focus for the next week is just to work on my edits and obviously my adverts. The other thing I was thinking is my series that I'm advertising doesn't have any box sets or omnibus editions or whatever you want to call them. So put them into 3 books. So essentially I would have 2. So I was thinking I need to get those up and online, because sometimes people just like to buy the whole collection because they can burn through it. So I could potentially make 2 of those. So that could be on my agenda for this week, but it's not high priority. My highest priority is getting my edits done and getting that book file up. But I'm going to talk numbers with you, because obviously that's what I'm working on as well, is increasing my income, which means I'm constantly playing with my ads. So last week I mentioned that I had a little bit of ad budget left. What I decided to do, so I advertise a vampire book with my Facebook ads, and then if I manage to get time to do TikToks, I do TikToks with my werewolf. So I thought, my adverts are going really well with my vampire book, why not have a play with my werewolf book on the actual Facebook ads? So I did. I put 2 DCTs up on Facebook. So DCTs are dynamic creative. It's basically testing ads. So you put 3 images up, test it against 2 headlines and 2 primary text, and Facebook will mix and mash them all together and come up with the best combination and send it out and test and do what it does. And there's this learning phase with your Facebook ads. There's lots of information on it online on how to do it. I follow Matthew Holmes' Facebook ads course, which is amazing. So I created 2 test adverts for this series with 3 different images on each and stuff like that. I did not spend a lot of money on it. I basically worked out how much of my ad spend I had left and put that towards it. And that book itself didn't really make a profit. I had some sales and I saw an increase in uptake of the book and the whole series. So the series has lots of books. It's great. Sell book 1, you're going to sell through the series, hopefully. And I have seen that. And that series does have omnibus editions, and I saw people buying those, and I did see an uptake. But I think because this series hasn't had adverts behind it for such a long time, and it's also one of my older series, I think it needs a lot more. I think the spend on it there's going to be a loss for a few weeks while the book kind of rises, because like I said, I did see a rise in it in the charts and in the spend, but I was still in a negative, so I still lost money on it, which is fine. So what I did is I actually decided to turn that off at the moment. I was just playing, seeing how it would go, and just focus back on the vampire book, because at the moment while I'm trying to build my income up, I don't have a lot of money I can just throw away and get myself into a negative. So I'm like, no, let's go focus back on the vampire book, because that's the one that's working. So this month we're in September. First week of September, I decided to create another ad for this book in a different country. So at the moment, the past couple of months, I've only been advertising in America or in the USA, and I do know from previous history that it also sells well in the UK. So I was like, okay, this money that I've got that I'm not using for the werewolf book, I'm going to put it for a small UK advert to see if I can get the numbers that I had earlier in the year for the UK again. So I've been doing that for the past week. So let me talk about July and August. So July was when I decided I was going to start this leveling up my author career. I had been to the SPS conference. I had listened to some really inspirational talk. Steve Higgs was probably my favourite one, which is why I playfully title this series the Be More Steve Project, because that is what I want to do. And so July is when I have full months of data, and I now have a full month of data for August. So, and I'm just looking at my screen over here because I have it written down. So I won't give you the actual figures, but I'll give you the percentages because, as I say, it's all relative to you. So in July, and some of this data is a bit flawed because the first week of July I didn't really have any adverts running. I had old adverts that needed turning off and rejigging. And so for July, my profit margin, so this is the income versus how much I spent on ads, was 43.49% profit of what I spent. So that's good for, I was seeing a good return. There was no loss. And then for August, it's gone up a little bit. My profit margin was 47.29% profit from spending to earning, which was great because I'm not losing any money. I'm earning money, and I'm really happy with that. I didn't have a really big ad on or anything like that. So I'm really happy with those 2 months. And it looks nice. It's going up on my Amazon KDP account. So I've also compared the first week of July to the first week of August to the first week of September, which is where I am now. I'm at the end of the first week of September. So the first week of July, so every first week has different things in it. The first week of July had old adverts that needed turning off, and then they got turned off, so there was a couple of days with no ads. The first week of August was when I launched my DCTs after completing Matt Holmes's course, so my ads were in the learning phase. The first week of September, my adverts were still running from August, and they're good. They're still profitable, so they're still running. And I also added a UK advert, so that's in learning phase. I have also started to scale up my adverts. So some of this September week has a higher spend because I've started to scale up my adverts, and Matt Holmes recommends no more than 20% because otherwise you knock it back into the learning phase. I think that's what it is. So the weeks. So in July, for the first week of July, my profit margin was 29.62%. So this is all earnings to spend. In August, for this first week, my profit was 56.75%, which is good. That was a really good increase between those 2 months. And then September and August comparisons. In September, my profit is 45.18% add to spending to earnings percentage. So it's a little bit less than the first week of August. But I think that is because I had some of the werewolf book that I have now turned off, the advert, and the new UK advert and the scaling. It's about a 10% less profit margin, but it's still a profit. So I'm really enjoying that. And actually, I'm a couple of days after the first week of September, and I can see the profits getting a little bit better. So yeah, so hopefully next week it'll be even better. But I am happy with those results because my income is just going up, which is what I want. And I was having the debate with myself also, because this goal is to level up my author career and increase my author earnings. And so it's just a little bit before I go, because I realise this video is getting a bit long and I've discussed various things. But I always try to have multiple streams of income. So I have Patreon, I have Ream, I have YouTube, but I don't earn from YouTube at the moment. I have audiobooks, I have paperbacks, I have ebooks. Where else do I get my earnings from? I have merchandise that goes, there's various other little bits. And I was like, do I count my freelance work as a stream of income in this career? Because the freelance work has the potential to end in a few months, but it also might not end in a few months. So I'm not sure. If I was to include the freelance work in my streams of income, then I have pretty much reached my income goal for this year already. If I don't include the freelance work in my income because it's not a thing that possibly will be there forever, then I am just on a nice slow climb. So I'm not sure which way to do it, because it is a stream of income, but it's potentially not a permanent stream of income. It depends on the work. It's kind of a review thing it'll just go along. So I'm not sure, but we'll see. Either way, I'm happy. My income is going up and that's what I want to see. So yeah, that was episode 4. Like I said, my goal for next week is literally just to do my edits and get that books file onto KDP so I don't have to worry about it, get it off to ARC readers, and everything is set up for it. I just need to get an email out, which means faffing around with my email list. I'm not sure if I'll get to sorting my email list out, but we shall see. So yeah, I hope you have a good week or a couple of weeks or whatever you're doing. If you have any tips, any advice, or you just want to chat, pop it down in the comments. I love talking to people about writing. It's my favourite topic. And yeah, I will see you in the next update. So hopefully it'll be next week. So bye for now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and come and chat to me. Bye for now.